Did Marvel actually just debut one of the most powerful comic book Marvel characters, and therefore one of the most powerful MCU characters to date? The current roster of incredibly powerful individuals that inhabit the modern cinematic Marvel universe is constantly expanding and growing with each new entry into the MCU lineup. Now that the likes of No Way Home and the Multiverse of Madness have opened the doorway into alternate realities, there is no shortage of incredibly formidable characters from both the primary 616 and the universe that we know, as well as elsewhere in the multiverse to introduce. Throughout the past few years, however, we have received numerous references and Easter eggs that refer to one of the single most powerful Marvel characters of all time, and one that overshadows even the strongest Earthbound heroes that the modern MCU currently has to offer. So who is this incredibly powerful cosmic individual? Well, watchers of the Marvel multiverse, let's explore the story of the Living Tribunal, and dive into his various mentions and cameos in the MCU, and delve into the nigh unmatched power that his comic book counterpart possesses, and establish exactly why this being of near omnipotent power now exists in the MCU. The first mention of the Living Tribunal in the MCU goes all the way back to the first Doctor Strange film, wherein he is actually name-dropped by Baron Mordo during one of Strange's early training segments. From here, he has made appearances in both the Loki series as a pruned statue at the end of time, as well as in the Multiverse of Madness, where he can be seen among the universes that Strange and America Chavez crash through at the end of the film's first act, making a direct appearance and a physical appearance here. But who exactly is the Living Tribunal, and why is he so powerful? In the comics, the Living Tribunal is the supreme judge of the multiverse, and this entity is in charge of preserving the balance from across the fabric of all realities. There is only one iteration of this immensely powerful cosmic entity, as he exists beyond any one universe, overseeing the entirety of the collective multiverse. This means that the Living Tribunal does not have any multiversal variants, and he doesn't even preside within any one specific universe. Instead, he remains relegated to a dimension known as the Star Chamber, which serves as his personal trial room. As a representative of the Marvel character who we actually know is confirmed to be omnipotent, the one above all, the Living Tribunal has ultimate authority over any matters that transpire between universes or on a cosmic scale that surpasses the bounds of just a single reality. And he has the full ability to act on his own discretion in order to preserve balance in the multiverse. This can include the annihilation of entire realities or timelines if he deems one universe to be too powerful and at risk of overshadowing another. In his tenure, he has eliminated entire worlds in order to prevent imbalances and mystical forces, which includes stopping any one universe from growing more powerful than any other, as well as preventing too much good or too much evil to overpower a single timeline. He also presides over Marvel's roster of abstract entities, which are the embodiments of nature's fundamental forces, including eternity, infinity, death, and oblivion, who do not have physical forms and are beyond the very concept of human comprehension. Some of these individuals have even been hinted at in the recent Thor: Love and Thunder trailer, but none, besides the very brief cameo in the Multiverse of Madness, have made their debuts in the flesh in the MCU as of yet. Each of these entities, though, has near ultimate power over their own universe, as they need to manifest physical forms as M-bodies to even be perceived by humans. Yet, the Living Tribunal presides over them all, and each of these forces answers only and solely to him. Eternity herself has even been said to be the living embodiment of the universe in 616, showcasing just how wide his reach truly is. He can nullify the Infinity Stones at will, as he has been seen doing against Adam Warlock when the latter disagreed with the Living Tribunal's judgment and caused the entire sun to go supernova with barely a thought, consuming Earth 691 in an attempt to kill their iteration of Korvac and choke his influence over the multiverse. The Living Tribunal also employs a roster of magistrati, who serve as his own personal enforcers of universal law and traverse the multiverse and maintain order. These personal judges, jurors, and executioners often deliver judgment on the Living Tribunal's behalf and are capable of granting the same punishments or corrections as he himself can. This is simply because in the grand scope of the multiverse, delegation is a necessity. The Living Tribunal is also capable of existing on multiple planes of reality at once, and his physical form can appear in any number of universes simultaneously. While this gives the illusion of multiple Living Tribunals, they are all extensions of the same omnipresence and universal consciousness that are all derived from this single individual. The Living Tribunal's three faces are representative of the three sides of his personality, with the primary face that he uses representing the force of equity. This face serves as a fair and impartial judge who is unbiased in all matters, and this allows him a certain degree of apathy when carrying out his many judgments. His philosophy revolves around the mentality of serving the needs of the many over the needs of the few, even though in his multiversal perspective, the few in question might be billions of sentient lives. Even though, if they represent the few, he will not hesitate to sacrifice them. The Living Tribunal, though, always honors the balance of the universe and justice. He has sacrificed millions for the sake of billions, and billions for the sake of trillions, with the needs of entire universes being inconsequential to his purpose, and he does so without any semblance of personal investment or emotional attachments. The partially covered face to his right is said to represent necessity, and this face weighs on how imperative any situation is within the grand scale of the multiverse, assessing what needs to be done, and to what degree action must be taken. Finally, the fully covered face represents the force of revenge. Over the years, he has been matched in power by only a select few individuals, namely the One Above All, who is said to have created the multiverse in the first place. The One Above All is the single most powerful individual that Marvel Comics has ever had to offer, and the Living Tribunal not only serves as a direct ambassador to him, but is widely regarded as second only to the very creator of the Marvel Omniverse. Recently though, the Living Tribunal was killed in a war with the Beyonders, who are individuals that exist outside of the bounds of the Marvel multiverse, and his death was one of the single most significant events in the Marvel universe that we've ever seen. But for the duration of his tenure, he is virtually untouchable by anything that Earth-616 or anyone in the multiverse has to offer. While the debut of the Living Tribunal would perhaps be the introduction of the single most powerful Marvel entity ever, this brings with it an interesting question. In the Marvel multiverse, there is only one iteration of the Living Tribunal, which leaves us to wonder what if the version that presides over the MCU is not just adept as the comics, but is quite literally the same individual from across the comics, and now a part of the MCU. The Multiverse of Madness seems to disprove this, seeing as they call the primary timeline of the MCU Earth-616, but there is still room for error on the part of the characters within the Multiverse of Madness film itself. This might mean that while all other Marvel characters have been adapted from the comics and are, in a sense, multiversal variants, this might be the very first Marvel character to be the very same iteration as the comics from which he ultimately debuted, with his presence endless in the multiverse. Again, this is unlikely to happen, but it's still an interesting idea to explore nonetheless. But anyway, watchers, what do you think of the Living Tribunal, and how much did you know about him before this video? And would you like to see him make his MCU debut in full in the near future? As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching the channel. Hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and have a great day.